Many of you don't know, but in 2001, 2002, I stopped acting. I left the industry. I moved to London because it was a very dark period in my life. Like I said, I had these issues and, I just fell out with some friends I considered family. And I just gave up acting for a while. I needed to get out of, just leave that space for a minute. And then I moved to London and I gave up stardom. And then, you won't believe it. This is something I've never told people before. But while in London, I was trying to make ends meet. I started working in a care home as a caregiver for adults with special needs. While some might view it as a step down, I don't. You see, taking care of others brought me joy and purpose at a time I needed it most. Because remember, I took care of my mother and my father when they were ill, because I was alone with them. And when I say taking care of, I'm talking about really taking care of. Because you see, when you get really ill, sometimes you become incontinent. So I took care of them at that level. So it was a no-brainer for me. My mother, my rock, my support system died. I'll never forget the day in 2001 when I watched her die. I held her in my arms, my older brother and my father. We watched her die and she slipped away. It's something that never really leaves you. She died in 2001, but just, I think about a week ago, I still thought about her and the tears came again. It never leaves you, to be honest. You get stronger, it gets better, but it never leaves. Well, it was just unbearable for me because for me, I felt like she was supposed to be here celebrating with me, watching me chase my dreams. She was part of this process, She made sure each time I go to school and come back, I'll do my homework and then she'll prepare me for children's variety programs where I go to perform during the weekends. So she was very, very instrumental to who I am today, And then after that, I was in a bad place. I felt like there was no reason to keep going on, I remember being on the plane, going back to Lagos after she had passed. She passed in my state where I'm from, Imo State. And then we had to go to Lagos and get necessary things to come back and plan the burial. Now I remember being on that plane, and to be honest, it was such a turbulent flight, but I did not flinch because I wanted it to crash. I was praying that I want this plane to crash so I can see my mother and be with my mother again. That's how I felt, And then it's a very empty feeling anyway. Now you see, I'm the youngest in my family, and while I was still in secondary school, my older siblings had all moved back to the UK because they were all born there. I was only one born in Nigeria. Anyway, that's a story for another day. After our mother's funeral, they all returned back to their lives abroad. Then life for me took a turn for the worse, both emotionally and financially. My father's health declined because when a couple, when they're very close and one dies, it affects the other one. I think my father actually stopped living within my mother died. So he became ill, his health declined, and then, my siblings managed to move back to the UK, and I was now all alone in Nigeria. I found myself losing faith in the slow growth of Nollywood, waiting months between job struggle and eternity. And then I lost some people whom I thought were friends, very close friends. In fact, some friends I considered family. It was just a very turbulent time in my life. I don't want to dwell too much on that period, but it led me to hitting rock bottom in Lagos. And when I say rock bottom, I mean rock bottom. I became homeless. I was squatting with people for a stretch. And when I say squatting, I'm talking about 3-4 people in a room. It was a friend's space, and I was staying there, choose your friends wisely is one advice I always give to young girls in the industry. It's very important to choose who, there's something Dominic said, choose your friends. It is very important to have friends who share the same vision, goals with you, people who your visions are aligned, and people who bring the very good energy, because the sort of energy you put out in the universe is the sort of energy you receive. That's something I always tell people. So you have to be very careful the sort of energy you surround yourself with, and also the sort of energy you're putting out there in the universe. Well, eventually my siblings found a way to get me out of Nigeria, and I lived with my brother and his family for a while in London. And gradually I started getting myself together. Now, during that process, I put my dreams of stardom on hold. Many of you don't know, but in 2001, 2002, I stopped acting. I left the industry. I moved to London because it was a very dark period in my life. Like I said, I had these issues of, I just fell out with some friends I considered family, and I just gave up acting for a while. I needed to get out of, just leave that space for a minute. And then I moved to London and I gave up stardom, and then you won't believe it. This is something I've never told people before. But while in London, I was trying to make ends meet. I started working in a care home as a caregiver for adults with special needs. While some might view it as a step down, I don't. You see, taking care of others brought me joy and purpose at a time I needed it most. Because remember, I took care of my mother and my father when they were ill, because I was alone with them. And when I say taking care of, I'm talking about really taking care of. Because you see, when you get really ill, it's sometimes becoming incontinent. So I took care of them at that level. So it was a no-brainer for me. Okay, fast forward 2003. I had saved, some money to return to Nigeria to get my stuff, and then just finally relocate to London. Nollywood was now beginning to thrive. In fact, they were now calling it Nollywood. We used to call it Africa film industry or Nigeria film industry at the time. And so now the producers were urging me to stay. I felt it was risky. I didn't want to lose my job. And also I had started a drama school in London. I had just paid the fees before I came to Nigeria on holiday. Right after I went to Nigeria on holiday, I keep thinking I'm in Nigeria, And then one day Genevieve calls me. You all love Genevieve, right? Yes! So Jenny calls me a few days before I was to go back to London, and she said, "Oh, I've given your number to a producer for a film." And I'm like, I'm going back. And she's like, "Well, just listen to what he has to say." She was one of the people that advised me to stay back and go back to London.